but I've had a client one time where I said, like, I used the analogy of, like, people try to pretend it's not cool, just like Nickelback. And my client was like, what is Nickelback? And I was like, okay, never mind. I'm not cool anymore.
Michelle, this is the first step in getting older.
Don't say it. I still have to Google some of it, but.
Oh, yeah, totally. We can't keep up with those kids.
Mm-mm.
Welcome to another episode of Counselor Off the Clock. I am your host, Lydia Thompson. I am a licensed counselor. On this podcast, nothing is off limits. The funny stuff, the sad stuff, we laugh, we cry. Well, maybe no crying yet. On this episode, we have Michele Horne, our certified cool counselor. We are exploring the topic of self-sabotage. Michele shares some of her story of self-sabotage. If you're wondering what it takes to become a counselor, Michele goes into her grad school experiences. We are a new podcast, so if you are liking what you're hearing, give us a follow, give us a rating, subscribe, obviously. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We would love to connect with you. So get comfortable because we are off the clock. So I've been doing this thing on my Instagram where, you know, you get memories on Facebook.
Right.
And every year I cringe so hard at the things that I have posted.
Okay.
And so I pride myself on being like anti-shame, right? This is part of like how I operate. So in the spirit of that, I have been posting publicly on my private Instagram. I have been posting for all to see my Facebook statuses from 13 and 14 years ago.
So how old were you?
I'm 30.
Okay.
So I was like 15, 16 years old. This is a message. This is a message to all the kids listening out there. Everything you post is there forever. And luckily these are harmless and nothing came of it except for my own humiliation. And now I'm putting this on a public forum. Are you ready?
Yes.
The answer is no.
As ready as I'll ever be.
All right. In the order I sent it to you.
Okay.
January 8th, 2010. And her cousins, because that's what happened on Facebook a while ago. It was like, you had to, the first thing was like, Lydia Phillips is.
Right.
Now I'm Thompson. And her cousins are debating about SpongeBob. It's sad. It's with ITS, no apostrophe. It's sad that the people are 16, 15, and 14 think SpongeBob is awesome, and the kids that are under 10 think SpongeBob is stupid. What has this world come to?
Wow.
I posted that.
So you were pro SpongeBob or anti?
I am currently still pro SpongeBob.
Pro SpongeBob. Me too.
You were raised on SpongeBob?
I think SpongeBob really shaped me into who I am today. Somehow. My sense of humor still checks out. It's still funny.
Absolutely.
So.
I think it's so too. I think it's a significant, what is it called? Like cultural cornerstone.
Every child should have to watch SpongeBob.
Yeah. I have lost.
A lot of parents would disagree.
What's the code on your phone?
Don't put that on the internet.
I'll cut it out.
It's the last four of my social.
You need to not have that as your passcode.
Well, do you remember like growing up in the cafeteria, that was your lunch number?
No.
Okay, well at my school, your lunch number was the last four of your social, always. And so that's the four numbers I can remember that aren't 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is still my passcode.
Listen, mine's even simpler than that. Yours, identity fraud.
Right.
Immediately. I'm just going to throw some out there. We can edit them out if they're not funny.
Yep.
Dark blue.
That's it. Just dark blue. You were talking about my outfit. You're predicting the future.
I don't know what in the world I was thinking about.
Just a random thought. It's funny because I was like probably 10 or 11 when you were posting these. God only knows what I was posting. Probably made no sense. Why I had a Facebook, I don't know. But
yeah,
that's a topic for
dark blue.
Dark blue.
10 years ago, January 8th. Man, I'm on it. January 8th. I need to either grow a beard or get a ski mask because my face is cold.
Those are the two options. Those are the only options. Beard or ski mask.
Honestly, I thought I was being hilarious.
I mean, it's pretty funny. That's how you were thinking. That's how your brain was operating.
I mean, I think I just had a thought and then I immediately had to put it on Facebook.
Not a second thought.
Not a second thought.
Just a first.
That was my first thought. Yummy, yummy soy burger.
Were you eating soy burgers? Never had a soy burger.
I guess I was 14 years ago.
Yummy,
January
yummy
10th,
soy burger.
2010.
Okay.
Is chillin' with Taylor Swift.
Oh.
I was an OG Swiftie 15 years ago, January 10th, 2009. I was chillin' with Taylor Swift.
I'm jealous. I'm very envious.
How do you feel about Taylor Swift?
Oh, deeply. I love her. But I'm an OG too. Like, I feel like my clients can't even comprehend that, like, when they were babies, I was obsessed with Taylor Swift. Like,
Right.
So that's like what I grew up on, though, I feel like. My high school years were defined by Taylor Swift. So it's very nostalgic in a lot of ways, but I love her so much. So...
Well, apparently I was chilling with her. So I'm a Nashville native, and Taylor Swift is from Nashville. I was at a Starbucks right by Vanderbilt, and when I was around this age, and I ran into her.
Shut up.
Yeah.
So you weren't lying in that Facebook post?
I don't know what I was thinking in that Facebook post,
Okay.
but yeah, maybe that was the day.
Did you get a picture?
No. No.
It's a shame.
Well, that's the thing about Nashville
Yeah,
is you have to play it cool. And I'm a Nashville native. Like, we play it ultimate cool.
Yeah. I think that for the most part I'm good at playing it cool, but if I saw Taylor Swift, I would not at all play it cool. So.
Yeah. Do you have any celebrity encounters you would like to share?
Ooh. I did meet Aaron Carter when I was younger, though.
I'm so jealous.
Do you know what Styx is, the Japanese restaurant?
No.
Okay, we don't have one in Tennessee, I don't think. I was in Alabama, and he was at a Styx, and I was like maybe 7 or 8. So he was still really popular, and I remember he was like so like angsty. He was so mad at the world, and like him and his manager were fighting in a Styx in Alabama. So yeah.
Wow.
Didn't get a picture. But I was with my older sisters, and they were freaking out. So.
Oh my gosh, I bet. Aaron Carter was my first concert.
Really?
Yes. In Nashville. I feel like it was at the waterfront where Ascend now is.
Oh, okay.
Now we're really in the weeds.
Yeah, we are.
Okay. Is Top Banana. 2009. 15 years ago.
I'm sorry. Lydia is Top Banana?
Lydia is Top Banana.
What does Top Banana mean? Not sure?
Take a guess.
That's... I'm drawing a blank. Okay. Top Banana. You're the coolest.
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what it
like
means. Make
just
it
a
up.
shot in the dark. I think it means you're the coolest.
Honestly, so many of these I think were inside jokes 15 years ago.
Right, that was such a thing. Yeah.
So now we're entering into, I was watching American Idol.
Love American Idol.
Do
OG
you?
American Idol.
Yeah, OG American Idol. Loves American Idol auditions. Holla!
Holla!
I don't know. Looking like a fool with your pants on the ground.
Stop, that's such a
I
classic.
posted that.
I think I still could sing that. I could recite it.
I can.
Mm-hmm.
With the, the hole
Pants.
in your mouth, hat turned sideways, pants hit the ground, looking like a cool cat, pants on the ground, pants on the ground, looking like a fool with your pants on the ground.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Classic. Mm-hmm.
so maybe I stand by this.
Is this aging us? I think it might be.
No, I don't care. I mean, I posted these on my Instagram. I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
I will continue to post these.
Okay.
Came home and took a 2.5-hour nap. Smiley face.
Jealous of that. Mm-hmm.
2011. I was a senior in high school, so good for me.
I napped a lot in high school.
Did you?
Every day almost, yeah.
Nap in school?
Here and there, yeah. But also, our school started at 7, so I'd be up at like 5:30.
Ugh.
So I was tired every day. And I did like work-based where you got to leave early, so I would nap and then go to work. And then I worked until like 10 and had to be up at 5:30. So yeah, I was chronically tired.
Did you nap in your car?
No, I lived like 5 minutes from school.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you went home.
Napped for like an hour.
Napped.
And then I had to go to work.
And then you went to work. Wow. Where did you work in high school?
Sonic.
Wow. Did you, were you on rollerblades?
Absolutely. It was not optional at my Sonic. Everyone skated. Unless you were pregnant. But everyone else skated.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I worked at Sonic. It was a great job. Honestly, this is a kind of good story. After I graduated college in 2020, I moved home. It was the middle of like peak COVID and didn't have a job. So I went back to Sonic Drive-In and worked there for 6 months.
You did? Wow.
I did. Because it was honestly great money. And my boss just like let me pick up shifts whenever I wanted. Skating was harder. But
were you not like 16 years old?
Yeah, when you're 22, it's just a little bit harder. Would probably be a lot harder now. But
right.
Yeah, that was just like the only job I could get at the time.
Wow. And now you're here.
Now I'm here.
Wow.
And that's how I ended up in grad school.
Seriously?
But I was like, I can't live at home and work at Sonic any longer. It's been 6 months, and I was like, I'm going to grad school. And yeah, that next thing I knew, January, I was moved out. So I was only living at home August to January, and I started grad school in January.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we should save the rest of these for our next episode.
Okay, we can do that.
Oh, let's get one more.
All right.
Which one should I do? I'm kind of tired of everyone around me walking faster than me. I'm going as fast as my little legs can take me. No need to huff as you pass me with your stilt legs. Short girl probs.
Stilt legs. How tall were you?
The same height.
Okay.
This is 10 years ago. So I was, 20? I posted that when I was 20 years old.
Times were different.
Were they?
Well, I feel like now social media is very curated. The average 20-year-old is posting like their best self. Whereas like when we were younger, it was like you just literally posted any and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is how old are you?
I'm 25. I turned 26 this year.
Okay.
What?
You're so young.
We're not that far apart.
A lot happens between 25 and 30. Let us know in the comments.
I'm scared.
Are we the same age, 25 and 30?
Say no. Please. Say no.
How different is a 20? There are significant things that are different between 25 and 30. And what happened in the world. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let me do a little introduction.
Let's do it.
Of you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Lydia Thompson, and welcome to Counselor Off the Clock. I mean, I'm kind of on the clock today because I am in my office, in my personal office, and seeing clients today. Right now, I just get to talk with Michele Horne.
Hi.
Hi. Michele started off as one of our interns at Concord Family Counseling, and we loved her so much we had to have her stay. So she is now on staff as a full-time clinician at Concord Family Counseling.
They couldn't get rid of me. They tried.
Tried?
Kidding.
No, definitely not. Tell us a little bit about your style of counseling, who you like to see.
Okay. In terms of style of counseling, I like to think of myself as like the cool counselor.
You are a cool counselor.
Thank you. I started off really only working with teenage girls, and then that's changed over time. I work with adults now. I see some men, and some older adults too. And I've really enjoyed that. I love my teenage girls. That's been my niche, but it's so different working with adults. So, yeah, my style of counseling, how would I describe it? Definitely take a lot of different approaches. It's very integrative. I just like people to feel comfortable and open. And I would never want a client to feel judged or like I'm pointing them in the direction I think they should go. I kind of like my clients to take their own initiative in a sense. And yeah, take their own initiative of their life, I guess. I know a lot of people come to counseling looking for advice, but like a little here and there. I can give my opinion.
Listen, have you tried to give advice to a teenage girl?
Scary. Mm-hmm. When has that ever worked? It hasn't. So, you know, just giving them a space where they feel like they can be completely themselves, and share anything they need to.
Yeah. And not judged. I think I've said this on the podcast before. We're not judging you.
Absolutely not.
Many people are like, well, of course you are. No, we're not. Yeah. I guarantee you there's no judgment coming from me.
Right. I feel like you got to leave your own opinions and stuff at the door as a therapist, which has been a learning process, but like I feel like that's the best way to do it.
Would you call yourself, like, before becoming a counselor, a more naturally judgmental person?
I'm definitely opinionated. Judgmental, I don't like that word.
Got it.
I do think that before having this career, I like had opinions about how I thought people should do things or live their lives or whatever. But I think that's been part of this learning experience, is like letting go of that need for control.
Yeah.
It has been like honestly nice. Mm-hmm. It's a relief to me now that I'm like, people are going to do what they want and live their lives how they want, and that's their decision, you know, and I can have my opinions or whatever else, but it doesn't matter. And so like in a lot of situations, even outside of this job, giving my opinions, I'm more hesitant to do so now, I feel like. Because, yeah, people are going to do what they want, no matter what, and make the decisions they want to. So, yeah.
It's early, y'all.
You have a baby.
I have a baby.
You have an excuse.
How long does the excuse last? Does it last all through motherhood? Because I'm hoping so.
To an extent, yeah. I feel like the first year, at least, you get, like, a hard pass. Definitely.
Well, our topic of today is self-sabotage. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if you have any thoughts or stories about self-sabotage.
Do I? Yeah.
You said what? You're the queen of self-sabotage?
Well, I'm well-versed.
You're well-versed.
I, my entire life, have been like a chronic procrastinator. I've kind of grown out of it in the past year, probably. But yeah, I feel like that was my self-sabotage go-to. And it was like, it's this thing which I've talked about in therapy. like the need for controlling the outcome. And I'm like, I can't be disappointed if I don't try.
Got it.
Yeah.
So this wasn't a way to... this had some, like, benefits to it. Procrastinating was not just about creating a bad outcome for yourself. It was about what?
Well,
like, keeping yourself safe. Yeah, controlling the outcome.
Again, we're talking about control again. Obviously, it's been something I've worked on. But yeah, I feel like it was that. And I mean, there's the like, I got away with it until grad school. I made good grades procrastinating until grad school. And then it like slapped me across the face. And I was like, oh, I can't procrastinate anymore. So yeah, it was like, I feel like through college, I was like, well, I didn't study. So like, if I do well, like, I'll be proud of myself. But if I don't, I didn't study. So then it got to grad school and I actually started not doing great for a second. And I was like, oh, what is this?
I've been able to skate by without trying.
Yeah.
And now I can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think self-sabotage shows up in like so many places in our lives too. Like,
tell me more about it.
I was having a conversation about this recently, and this, I'm not blanking on where I read this or where I got it from, but this thing about like, you have to take responsibility for your life. And I think it's really easy to fall into, because I've done it a lot, like victimhood of like, I am the victim of my circumstance. This has happened to me and they did that and this and that and that. And it's like this, when I read that, I was like, you have to take responsibility for your own life. And it was like, for some reason felt so profound, even though it wasn't. But that like, you know, the way people treat you is the way you allow them. And like all these things, yeah, and I think it's really easy to fall into that victimhood mindset. And I think when you do, like, that is how your life will be. You will always be the victim because you haven't chosen to change that, to take the initiative of I am responsible for my own life. And I think that and self-sabotage kind of go hand in hand because it's like there's a phrase I'm looking for that's not coming to me. Anyways.
Yeah.
So
how do you think that like responsibility for your circumstances and self-sabotage go together?
Give me a beat. Thinking about how I want to word this. Because I think when you live life as the victim, it really is true that you see things as they are happening to you and you maybe feel pity for yourself or whatever else. And like there's circumstances where that's necessary, obviously, but like then when your life doesn't get better, this is the self-sabotage part. You're like, oh, well, it's because this and that happened to me. And so like your life isn't going to improve until you take the responsibility of changing it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So part of the responsibility is seeing that you are sabotaging. Maybe even based off of your circumstances,
right,
which are totally valid. This is such a nuanced topic, and this is part of the reason why I wanted to have a podcast instead of just posting on TikTok, because a 30-second tip on TikTok cannot explain victimhood and self-sabotage in this way. Yeah. And taking responsibility for your life.
Right.
The message gets lost. Yeah. This is a really complex topic.
Yeah. And it's like, I think a lot of people on social media or TikTok would see this as like being dismissive of what's happened to you. And that's not at all what it is. It's that is valid. You experienced that. And now if you want better for yourself, you have to do that.
Yeah.
Like,
so how could somebody know that they are living in what we would call like a victim mindset, that they are giving away their control to their circumstances and what's happened to them?
Well, I'm thinking of in terms of like friendships, relationships, family, not having boundaries, and then being like, why is this person treating me this way? And it's like, well, are you advocating for yourself? Are you letting them treat you that way? Like, I think Noonie said this. You train people how to treat you.
Ugh,
and I'm like, and you're like, and I think this with relationships is really important, because it's like, I think people can be like, oh my God, like they treat me like shit, like whatever else. You're allowing that.
Right.
So, which I mean, I've done this too, but like, you're like, they're a terrible person. Like they do whatever. And at some point you have to look in the mirror and be like, well, why did they do that? Because I allow that. I let them get away with that. I don't have boundaries with them. Like,
there's no consequences to treating me like shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can just do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if somebody is stuck in this victim mindset, I think a lot of these themes go together of control, boundaries, victimhood, and identifying that you're living in victimhood might look like making excuses for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
I definitely agree.
Yeah, living in defense of your actions.
Yeah. And you should be in the offense. It's your life, not defense.
Tell me what living in the offense means.
Ooh.
I don't get it.
Well, I think living in the offense is you're trying to score, I guess. If we're getting into sports analogies here, you're trying to score because it's your life. You're not trying to keep someone else from scoring in your life, I guess. You're taking the initiative.
Okay.
I don't know if that analogy made sense, but in my brain it does a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like excuses, I used to be the excuse queen as a child. Yeah. I once told my older sister that, which I was like 13 years old, I couldn't vacuum because I was too little. So, yeah, excuses were a big thing for me. Yeah. But I think calling yourself out on your own bullshit, which that might take, a lot of work, but being like, oh my God, I'm doing this to myself.
Right. Because I think you're exactly right. There are things that have happened to you that are not your fault. You are a victim to it. And then how do you re-victimize yourself in sabotaging based off of an experience you had? That is a very... hopefully I'm tracking with the listeners here. So let's just say you had a parent who left you when you were young. Right. And so you are not in control of that. You are not responsible for that.
You were a child.
And even if you were an adult, somebody chose that. And then you get into adulthood. And what happens is you get into relationships and you might start to pull away from relationships and not trust people. And then relationships end. And then it's like, well, yeah, it ended. Of course, it always ends. They always leave me. Gosh, I mean, it's hard to talk about these things because I think all of us who are in this work can see ourselves in them.
That's the joy of this work.
Oh my gosh, how we re-victimize ourselves to go, okay, now I continue to do that to myself and I sabotage the relationships I'm in order to confirm because that abandonment is familiar to me.
Yep.
And so self-sabotage, yes, there is an aspect of this is hurting me. And then there's also an aspect of this feels familiar and good and in my control.
I know this one. I know how this will end.
You know this one. Yes. Yeah, I know how to play this game.
Yep.
To play a new game, to have something new in relationships, in your work, in your identity, how you talk to yourself, your feelings, is uncomfortable. And so I think a message I want to take away is that self-sabotage is not just bad.
Yep.
Right? It's not just like doing bad things to yourself. It is also benefiting you in bringing you back to things that feel comfortable and familiar.
Yeah. We love feeling familiar and comfortable. And that's why we do things, right? Every coping skill has a reason, a benefit of some sort, even if it's a bad one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think taking this even further, not being a victim to your circumstances, in spite of everything that has happened to you, you choose
Better
something
for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think of, which this is going back to early psych in college, but learned helplessness.
Yeah.
And the rats. I can't remember the exact example. It was something about rats being shocked.
I think it's dogs. Yeah.
Dogs?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it was dogs. But yeah, that when something bad happens to us, like a parent leaving or trauma of some sort or something, that it's very easy to become comfortable with that and to just accept what is given instead of trying to change things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the work that we do with their clients, is that we want them to want better for themselves. That's the place we're trying to get to.
So there's the things that you know, and then there's the things that you don't know. And there's the things that you don't know that you don't know. And I think that is where the important work in therapy comes in.
Yeah. Like, even in my own work and with my own therapist, like, you think that because, you know, you're a therapist yourself and you've done all this work that you know everything, right? I made a joke about, like, being self-aware earlier, but, like, who's really that self-aware? Yeah. And then things will come up, and I'm like, oh, my God. How did I not realize that that's what I'm doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know. It just never fails to surprise me when things like that happen in therapy, when I finally notice what my therapist is probably trying to get at for like 6 weeks.
There's so much that we don't know about ourselves. And so sometimes we don't even know that we're living in victimhood, and we don't know how we're self-sabotaging. So getting in a session and being able to have another person talk it out with you and give you that feedback, sometimes other people can notice those things more than you can.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And retrospect is 2020, right?
Yeah. Okay. Tell us, and by us I mean me, a little bit about your grad school experience, especially for those who are listening to this podcast who love to be helpers and maybe are considering a career in counseling. I think nobody prepared me for what grad school was going to look like. So share a little bit about what that was like for you.
Grad school. Oh, loaded question. But I actually had to write like a reflection essay when I was done. And it was really interesting because I think that going into grad school for counseling, like, you know, it's going to be hard. You know, it's not going to be easy. But the type of hard that it is a lot different than like someone who's getting their master's in business or something else. You know, not to say those aren't hard, because they're hard in their own way. But this was like an emotionally difficult thing, because you have to do so much reflecting on yourself that it's like exhausting. Like, I was like, by the end, I was like, I am too self-aware. I want to know less. Yeah, because if you don't, I mean, the purpose of you doing all that reflecting is so you're aware of like your own stuff, and when that could come up in counseling, and doing your own work is important, of course, too. But yeah, I just didn't expect it to be so emotionally hard. It's a growing process, definitely. Like, the person I was 3 years ago is not the same person I am today, definitely. I mean, in a lot of ways, yes, but in a lot of ways, no, too. So, yeah, like, people considering going to grad school for counseling, I just feel like you have to know what you're committing to. Originally, I was like, oh, I'll be done in 2 years. It took 3 years.
Totally.
And I really appreciated that my program was very take your time, take care of yourself, whatever. They didn't want to produce like burnout therapists. So, yeah, I felt like taking my time was really good for me. And yeah, just knowing that it is not just hard in terms of schoolwork.
Right.
Yeah.
My sister was in her master's program for accounting at the same time I was in my master's program for clinical mental health. And I remember writing papers and crying writing papers. And I was like, my sister doesn't have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
She's not crying. Yeah. I mean, out of, she's maybe crying because it's hard or whatever, but it's not the same. I consistently cry when I write papers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like you're doing a lot of reflecting on yourself and also like your past and what makes you who you are today and like your family. It's a lot. You're unpacking a lot throughout the entire process.
I mean, I feel like it's like being in therapy for 3 years.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And doing therapy several times a week.
Right.
Do you remember the first time you sat with a client?
Yes.
I mean, I was there that day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tell me about your first day.
Oh, gosh. I was so nervous. And looking back, it was definitely, I cringe. A little. I will say, like, I like intakes for the most part. I feel like I'm pretty good at that kind of stuff, socially even, just so it wasn't awful or anything. But I was nervous.
I turned off the air conditioning, but it's now
Back on.
That's fine.
Okay.
If you can hear something,
that's just the air conditioning.
It's our air conditioning unit that won't turn
hot.
off. Yeah. Maybe I'll just turn it on, period.
Yeah.
It's warm in here.
Mm-hmm. It's a little warm. These lights are toasty. You weren't lying about that.
Yep.
Yeah. So my first day seeing a client, it's funny because I felt so prepared and not prepared at all.
Say more about that.
Like, I had all the knowledge in theory, but not in practice. Do you remember us trying to take my video that one time?
Mm-hmm.
And I could not stop laughing. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good explanation of me as a person.
Like, go ahead.
So this happened in high school too. Anytime I would try to present something or be serious, I would uncontrollably laugh. And that's what happened with you when we had to take a video for my practicum class of me doing an intake. And I was doing it with Lydia as my mock client. And I'm not kidding. I think we took it 6 times because I was crying laughing. It was ridiculous. But
I mean, to your credit, I was somewhat trying to make you laugh.
Mm-hmm. Well, it worked. Yeah. I just, like, can't be serious with people that I'm, like, friends with ever. It's really hard for me.
We're being serious right now.
This is being serious. I don't know why it's different.
Yeah.
I feel like with the video, there was a lot of pressure. I'm like, I'm getting a grade on this.
Right.
And then same with presentations. Like, I would literally... I had a teacher who would have to send me out of the room to calm down, which this teacher was like my best friend. That's why I was laughing, because she was making faces at me. But
got it.
Yeah. So.
Well, anyway. I'm glad you feel comfortable enough that this is not pressure enough that.
Yeah, I feel pretty chill. If I were like cracking up right now the entire time, that would make for an interesting podcast. Definitely.
It would be something.
It would be something. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So grad school. You got through 3 years, somehow made it.
Yep.
Any other things you want to share about your first day and your first week? I am alluding to something.
Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting.
You had a suicidal client the first week you were here.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
Nerve-wracking. Absolutely nerve-wracking. Just so much responsibility, especially in your first week of seeing clients. And that was kind of a theme throughout my entire internship, I think. I think it was good for me. And now I'm very comfortable talking about suicidality and like high risk. And topics people really don't like to talk about. So I think I'm very comfortable with those things now. But yeah, that first week I definitely could have fallen out on the floor with like panic. And I think I really, can I curse on here?
Yeah.
I think I really kept my shit together in front of the client.
Right.
But it's always for me like in a, I'm like this in my everyday life too. In a crisis situation, I'm handling it.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards I'm like, oh my God, I need to like cry, lay in the floor, like to decompress. And I feel like that's how my crisis situations have been with clients. Now I don't feel that way so much, but in an internship, I, saved face in front of them. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, Lydia, what just happened? Please
I'm like,
help
you
me.
handled it just fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. But when it's the first,
Mm-hmm.
it's the first time it's happened, it can be really scary. And you're right. You do all this book learning and classroom learning, and then you have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yep.
you have to sit with the client, and they're expressing these things that it's like, especially with suicidality, like their life is at risk.
Mm-hmm.
I can't mess this up.
And I was working with minors,
Yes.
which is sticky as is.
Yep.
And then first day I'm like, let's go through confidentiality. These are the things I have to tell your parents. And then they're like, oh, that one.
That one.
Actually. And I'm like, okay, we have to get your parents now. So,
Wow.
yeah.
You did it. It was always the joke that you would always have these big client crises, and it's our little intern.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're trying not to give you clients that are like so complex. We're trying to help you wade in, and you were thrown in the deep end right away. And I think this is really what makes you an excellent clinician now.
Thank you.
Is that you learned on the job so much by really seeing some big situations early on, and you figured your way through them.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree. And also, I kind of thrive in crisis most of the time. So even though I was so nervous and panicked, like, I was like, oh, that felt good afterwards. Not that it feels good to have a client who's suicidal, but, like, I made it through that. And and now I'm like, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's put it on the table. Like, let's not dance around this topic because it's important. And it doesn't feel so weird to me anymore.
Right. So how I've been ending this podcast is coming up with, if listeners have blanked out and have listened to this whole thing and they just needed like voices to listen to, but now they're coming to the end, is there something that they can take away from today, go and apply it to their lives?
So I would say notice the patterns in your life and how they show up. Like, for me, like procrastination, I'm like, why am I always stressed and anxious about school? And I knew why, but I wasn't ready to change it, I guess. And same thing with like relationships or friendships. Why do they always turn out this way? Mm-hmm. So pay attention to those things, and I think that'll help you figure out what it is that you're doing that is causing it, how you're contributing to the situation. And I think that would be helpful in like seeing your life from a different perspective, maybe.
I couldn't have even said it better myself. Notice the patterns in your life. That's where to start.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. Thank you for listening to another episode of Counselor Off the Clock. And I am really excited to have you on again.
Can't wait.
My cool counselor friend. You named yourself cool counselor.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, you're also cool counselor.
Thank you.
So I'm so glad I got to bend your ear today.
I'm glad I've coined that term.
Cool counselor.
I titled myself the cool counselor, which I don't know what that says about me.
You're so young. You're so young and cool.
I can just hang out with my teenage clients. I get it.
They think you're cool.
I still know the lingo.
Oh.
Although I said something yesterday and my client was like, what does that mean? And I was like,
What did you say?
I actually don't remember. But then I was like, do you know who Nickelback is? Which my client did.
Okay, good.
Which was reassuring. But I've had a client one time where I said, like, I used the analogy of, like, people try to pretend it's not cool, just like Nickelback. And my client was like, what is Nickelback? And I was like, okay, never mind. I'm not cool anymore.
Michelle, this is the first step in getting older.
Don't say it.
Yeah. And one day you'll be old like me.
I still have to Google some of it, but.
Oh, yeah, totally. We can't keep up with those kids.
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, tune in next time. Next week.
Signing off.
Counseling on the clock.
Bye-bye.
Bye.